welcome to TBSW Media. I'm your host, Jessica, and today we have Dr. Marilyn Porter, a co-author from The Unstoppable Woman of Purpose. How are you today, Marilyn?
I am absolutely phenomenal. How are you?
I'm great. So I don't want to give too much away with the book and your story because they have to buy it to read it. But I've got a few questions for you. So my first one is what your advice to the Walking Dead would be, your number one advice.
Don't stop. Don't ever stop. Keep going. No matter what. Push through. When you have a goal, when you have a dream, when something is in your heart, when God has planted a seed in there, don't stop. Keep going. Never, ever stop.
Awesome. No, that's great advice. And I mean, it's so true because I mean, that's where most people, they give up, right? When things get tough, they just stop. But that's great advice. Don't stop.
Yes.
Okay. So what should the woman looking for a sisterhood specifically ask God in their sacred time with him?
Oh, I can tell you that for me, my request was always send me a few sisters that were younger than me so that I could kind of always be fresh and in the know. And then send me some sisters that are a little older than me so that I could always have, that opportunity to reach out for that wisdom. And then send me some sisters that were kind of right exactly where I was so that they would understand me right in the place where I was at. And so aside from wanting to be fresh and wanting to have some people right there on my level and then having some wisdom, I've always asked for women that would keep my confidences, that I could bleed on them and they wouldn't go, run and tell the whole world that I, when I say bleed, I mean cry on their shoulder. That I may have had a moment and they saw me in my weakness and it was okay. So that was my prayer request. Send me someone that I can bleed on them. Send me someone that can keep me in the know. Send me some women where I can get some wisdom, and send me some sisters that are right there where I am.
That's awesome. So basically, just be very specific on what you want.
Very specific. I was very specific, and I would suggest that everybody be very specific in the needs that you want God to fulfill.
Awesome. So what pulled you to having such a sacred relationship with Father?
Well, it started for me really young, at the age of 5 years old, actually, when my first true encounter with God was seeing an angel standing at the foot of my bed when I was 5 years old. And so from that point, I always had this powerful knowing and understanding of who God was and who he is and all that he's capable of. And so along the way, like many of us, I've strayed and I've gone and done my own thing. But since the age of 5, I've known the security of having God as Father. And so in that moment that I had that very first encounter, it was actually in the midst of being sexually assaulted. And so I knew from a very, very early age that God was my protector. And I always saw him as protector. And then as I grew older, I began to see him as provider and so many other things. But I came to know him first as protector because I know that he saved my life in that instance. That could have turned out, with the loss of my life, and it didn't.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That's so amazing. Thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah.
For so many people, especially where I'm from, it takes a little bit longer, I feel, for most people, where I hope and I pray that my son will have the same relationship with him as you have, very young.
Mm.
Very young,
Yeah.
and using him as support and protection, ultimately, moving forward throughout his whole life. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So with being a part of the 2-Up movement, um, how has being surrounded by the unstoppable women impacted your life in the past year?
Um, the project itself, it was inspirational in the sense of seeing women come together from pretty much all over the world, from pretty much every continent, I believe, maybe except for Asia. I'm not sure. But seeing, women come together and debunking the myth that, number one, women can't get together and work together peaceably amongst one another. And so that in and of itself for me has been very impactful, just to see all of us come together and to see the perseverance of the project, to see it hit a few bumps in the road, but ultimately bounce back and sustain its global impact.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So Nella, she's really created an impactful movement, as you had said. So what about helping pioneer this movement is bittersweet?
One of the things about anytime you do something that is or is slated to be high profile, you always you run into the critics, you run into the jealousy, you run into the envy, you hit those walls that are not nice walls, but it definitely comes with the territory of being connected to anytime you hear the word global, and people's minds begin to think, kind of like, well, who do they think they are? And so you kind of start to run into that type of thing. So I would have to say that is the bittersweetness of it.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about your relationship with Nella and how she's impacted your life through God's Word.
Now, Nella and I actually met because, of course, I'm in the U.S. and she is in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So we met via social media, and shared some pretty powerful prayer times, and really just allowing the Holy Spirit to move, which is always a powerful thing, especially when you see that the power of God, transcends time and space and distance and all of that. And so I would truly have to say that the most impactful times between Nella and myself have not been public moments. They have been, those private prayer times and those words of confirmation that come and things of that nature. So I would have to say that that's it. Those sisterhood times have been the most impactful moments.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. So I want, in both the anthology and the workbook, I just found everything that you had written to be so powerful. And I know that your story in the anthology, it took me a few times reading it to truly understand what you were trying to say. But once I did and it clicked, I was like, wow, she is such a strong writer, and your story just really hit me hard. That Walking Dead, everybody, it's so true. And I don't want to, talk too much about it because you have to read the book to really get it and understand it. I'm sure, I'm an avid reader, so for the most part, I get things pretty easily. But yours, it was like, wait, is she? What? Is this real? What? But I really enjoyed it, and it was honestly the most impactful. And I think that putting it as the second chapter in the book is really going to kick everything off and really put that woman that's wanting that change to be that unstoppable woman, and push her and okay, let's go. Right.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because like I said in the very beginning, like you can't stop. You can't stop, because if you stop, you'll look up, and you'll be 80, 90 years old, and all you will have achieved is thinking about what you wanted to achieve, never really truly having achieved it. And that is my worst nightmare. I'm pretty much a fearless type of chick. I'm pretty fearless, but that truly is, if I have a fear, it is that that I will drag my feet and I won't do the things that God has called me to do, and or that I'll wait so long that when I actually get ready to do them, my body will have failed me and my eyesight will have failed me, and so we have to do things while we yet have the strength in our body and in our minds. And so we can't stop. We have to keep going. And sometimes we have to go, full speed ahead. We can't even coast, we can't even just cruise along. We have to put the pedal to the metal and get it done.
Yeah, no, that's so great. And I mean, I think it's so great that your fear is not achieving your dreams. Where there's so many people, that pass away, and that was all they did was, I wish I did this, and I wish I did that, and but you just need to keep going, right?
You just have to keep going. You just have to keep going. Like, no matter what, you have to keep going. You have to wake up every morning and remember, the why. You have to wake up every morning and put your why into perspective. I am a strong advocate for affirmations, because I believe that I am statements. I am is the most powerful statement that you can make, because whatever you put behind it, whether it's good or bad, that's what you're speaking. And so they are very, very powerful words to speak over yourself and over, those that you love. And so I believe that, if you just wake up every morning and remember the why and remember the I ams, you won't ever stop.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for being here and being so honest and truthful in your answers. And thank you for just being a part of this movement.
I appreciate your time as well. I'm having a blast.